Every year, we get inundated with flagship devices at Mobile World Congress. Typically, Samsung, LG, Sony, and even HTC try to outdo each other with high-end devices which feature new gimmicks to entice consumers to buy them. Sometimes it works, but most of the time we're just left with a good phone with a few quirky features. I'm Nick Gray, and this is my review of the LG G6, the least quirky flagship smartphone LG has put out in years. If you look back to last year, LG was the first to introduce modularity to its flagship smartphone. The phone didn't look bad and performance was okay, but LG missed the mark when it came to build quality and the modular design. The dual camera with its ultra wide-angle lens was neat, but the overall camera quality fell short when compared to Samsung and HTC's flagship devices. So what did LG do? They ditched the modular design, improved on the build quality, and focused a lot more attention on improving the camera quality. Oh, and let's not forget the near bezel-less 18:9 aspect ratio of the phone's display. And if that wasn't enough, this thing is also IP68 dust and water resistant, which means you don't have to fret if you get caught in the rain or if you accidentally drop it in the toilet. You can also take the G6 for a swim and use it to take pictures or even capture video, just as long as you don't go too deep. For the spec junkies out here, here's the full list of the LG G6's specifications. It comes with a 5.7-inch 1440 by 2880 pixel LCD display, which is Dolby Vision and HDR10 compliant, and it's also protected with Gorilla Glass 3. It comes with Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 processor, 32 gigs of storage, 4 gigs of RAM, a microSD card slot which supports cards up to 256 gigabytes, and a dual 13 megapixel camera, with the main sensor sporting an f1.8 lens with optical image stabilization and phase detect autofocus, and the second one featuring an f2.4 125 degree ultra wide angle lens. There's also a 5 megapixel camera on the front of the phone, a fingerprint sensor on the back, and a 3,300 mAh battery. The biggest complaint I've heard about the G6 is that it's powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon 821 processor. The chip is more than 6 months old at this point, and the flagship devices from Sony, Samsung, and HTC will have the newer 835 chip when they hit the market. Personally, I don't know what all the fuss is about. The 821 has more than enough power, even for intensive games. The only time that you'll notice the difference in performance between the LG G6 and other devices that have the Snapdragon 835 is when you hold them side by side. And even then, the difference would be negligible. The only real thing that may be noticeable would be battery life, since the 835 is more efficient than the 821. Then again, the G6 has a 3,300 mAh battery, which is 10% more than what's inside the Samsung Galaxy S8. For me, the G6 typically lasts a full day on a single charge. That's 14 hours off the charger, with 4 to 5 hours of screen on time, leaving me with 10 and even sometimes 15% battery life when I plug the phone in at night. And that's with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, NFC, and even the always on display kept on at all times. And if you do need a midday charge up, it does have Quick Charge 3.0, so you'll never have to go more than 15 minutes to give the phone a 30% charge. Many will be pleased to hear that LG's software is slowly improving. You get Android 7.0 with LG's custom skin overlaid on top. It's not great, but it's not bad either. It has quite a few customization options, like themes, rounded corner icons, and the choice to use an app drawer or not. As far as design goes, the G6 is a dramatic departure from what the company has been pushing out over the last few years. The phone's aluminum frame is sandwiched between Gorilla Glass 3 on the front and Gorilla Glass 5 on the back. The back of the phone is slightly curved, allowing it to nestle comfortably in your hand. The fingerprint sensor, which also doubles as the power button, is located right below the dual camera array, perfectly placed to be used with your index finger to unlock the phone. You have a single speaker on the bottom, right next to the USB-C port, aluminum keys on the side for volume control, and a 3.5mm headphone jack on the top edge. But let's get to the highlights of this phone. The obvious one is the 18:9 aspect ratio display, with nearly invisible bezels on the sides. The bezels are a little bit larger on the top and bottom, but that's only because LG needed to fit in the camera, speakers, sensors, and the actual circuit board for the display. When you look at the phone for the first time, you get a sense that you're looking at something right out of the future. And that feeling is reinforced when you actually start using the phone as well. The 18:9, or better yet, the 2:1 aspect ratio, gives the phone a different feel since it manages to fit more vertical content on the screen at once. This helps a lot while using Android Nougat's multi-window function, since the two app windows are perfectly square. It also helps while you're consuming content through the browser or even Facebook or Twitter. The downside is that you'll need to practice finger gymnastics if you want to use the phone with a single hand. The notification shade is nearly impossible to reach with your thumb, but LG does make up for it by allowing you to add a notification shortcut to the on-screen navigational keys. As far as display quality goes, I'm pretty impressed. LG is using an LCD panel which is Dolby Vision and HDR10 compliant. This means that you'll see dynamic color and contrast ranges which are better represented on LG's display than you'll probably see on your computer monitor or your TV. Like most LCD panels, this one here is even bright enough to be used outside in direct sunlight, but you will need to crank up the brightness all the way to the max. And that brings me to the feature that I love most about the LG G6, the dual 13 megapixel cameras on the back of the phone. I've already gone over the specs, so let me show you what these cameras can actually do. If you want to be nitpicky, the G6's camera isn't as good as the Pixels and will probably fall short when compared to the Samsung Galaxy S8s as well, but I honestly don't care. That's because LG's smartphone has the dual lenses. The images it can capture are dramatically different than what you could get with most other smartphones. The 125-degree wide-angle lens produces some stunning shots, and both sensors fare reasonably well in low-light conditions. If you spend a lot of time sharing pictures in Instagram, you should enjoy the square image feature. Since you have a 2:1 aspect ratio display, the camera app will show you the image you're taking and the one that you just captured side by side, so you don't have to jump into the gallery to see if the image that you just took is good enough to share with your friends. The G6 isn't the perfect phone. LG could have made it faster with a better processor or improved audio quality, but those things honestly don't matter to the general public. The only spec that really doesn't make sense for me is the 32 gigabytes of internal storage, when in 2017, 64 gigabytes should be the standard. The real question is, should you buy the LG G6? If you have the cash, I definitely recommend it. This phone is gorgeous. It works great, and the camera produces images that you'll love sharing with friends and family. Just use this phone for 30 minutes and you'll definitely know what I mean. I have more LG G6 coverage planned, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to share it with your friends or even just give it a thumbs up.